So today we're going to be talking about COVID-19 guidelines. There's a lot of questions out there from agents, and I think people are just generally unclear on just the procedures, the documents, and we want to make sure that everybody's being as safe as possible. As an essential business, it's our responsibility to do so, to keep everybody healthy, not so much for us, but for everybody else, right? So let's get right to it. Okay, Mike. So first question. When we're working on procuring a listing, what is the best way? What do we say to inform the seller of what the process is going to be like during the shelter in place?
Good morning, Lewis. Good morning, everybody else too. Best thing to do is, number one, talk with your seller. Always communication is number one for us. Explain what's required because of the COVID-19. Number one, of course, is safety for him or her and their family. Safety for those viewing or inspecting the property. People viewing the property are going to have to give notice of any possible COVID-19 contacts. After they get it afterwards too, they still have to give notice. She'll always be informed what's going on. What's very important is for you to make sure that the RLA-CAA form is signed. That's the COVID-19 form used when listing. It tells the agent what the seller will allow to happen. Who can be shown the property. Also, you need to get the PEAD form signed by the seller to allow people to visit the property. Explaining what the visitors will have to sign and giving the agent and the seller a signed copy of the PLAD would be important to let the sellers know that they're going to see these things also and know who is visiting their property. Also, you should inform your sellers of the need for hand sanitizer, masks, disinfecting wipes, and gloves if the seller deems necessary. We'll have them available, or they can have them available.
So what happens if instead of a seller, we're dealing with a buyer, Mike? What if we're trying to work with somebody here, we get them pre-approved? What should we tell them about how the process is going to be for them?
Once again, with the buyer, communication is important. Let them know why we're doing these things, and let them know why they have to sign a PEAD. Fact is, we're trying to keep them safe and the seller safe. So a PEAD is the most important thing for them to sign and understand why they're doing it.
And I recall as well that you told me that when we get the listing, we have to make sure to post something as well, just to keep all the buyers informed and their agents of what they're supposed to do inside the property. Is that correct?
A pictogram has been produced by Carr. However, I like the one that's produced by Lewis from our office much better and recommend that you use that one. It explains to the buyer what is required because of the COVID-19 before they enter a property.
What do we as agents need to have in order to be able to show them the property?
Okay, as buyer's agents, you should have already contacted the seller's agent and made an appointment to see the property. Further, you should have had a PEAD signed by your buyers and another one signed by yourselves and sent those to the seller's agent. Once you've done that, you're free to go see the property. Once again, you probably should have hand sanitizer, masks, disinfecting wipes to provide for your buyers, since they probably don't have some for themselves. You need those to enter the property.
All right, Mike. So then, once we're actually ready to show the property, to our buyers here, what do we need to have done, and what do we need to take with us to make sure that we're able to do that?
To do that, the buyer's agent should have to make sure they've contacted the seller's agent and set up an appointment to show the property. Also, they provided the seller's agent with a PELD for themselves, and also another one for their buyers. Once they've done that, they're free to show the property. They should probably have hand sanitizer, masks, disinfecting wipes, and gloves if necessary for their buyers in case they don't have them.
And as an agent, are we responsible to provide those supplies for our clients?
We may not be required to do that, but in fact, if they don't have them, you can't show the property. So it's not just to be convenient, but it's for your benefit to have them. Otherwise, you cannot show the property. Your clients will not be allowed to enter in without having the mask on.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It would be terrible to show up to an appointment and then not be able to follow through just because we don't have the appropriate protective gear. I've also, Mike, heard about agents trying to show property to clients that brought their kids. And I just think we're unclear. Is that allowed to show property to, like a parent and a child?
There's no definite regulation about that. but we're saying kids should not be allowed on the property. First off, they don't have the capacity for the needed restraint that's imposed on visitors not to touch things. Also, they don't have the legal capacity to sign a PEAD, and their parents cannot guarantee the children's lack of contact with the virus. So for the seller's safety, we do not allow kids to visit the property.
Right. So it's not as per se, per law, but we do it just as an extra protective measure, right?
Correct.
Okay. Is there anything else here, Mike, that?
Yeah, we also need to talk about what the seller's agent should do and have and receive. The sellers should make sure that before anybody sees the property, that they have a PEAD from the buyers that can look at the property and from the buyer's agent. Also, if the property is going to be seen by an inspector or an appraiser or somebody that's working for somebody, and the agent is the one that's contacted them or is helping them to visit a property, they should make sure that person has filled out a PEAD, has a mask, and follows all the safety procedures also. Stay healthy, everybody.